We live at 24/7 that she is missing. And it's our child. She's, to some people, she may just be, a girl that's missing. To us, like, she's our world, she's our daughter, and we need to find her. We need to get her home where she belongs. This is just, it never lets up. Never. You're reminded of it constantly.
The strange vanishing of Madison Scott. The night of May 28, 2011 was meant to be a night of celebration for Madison Scott and her friends. They had set up camp at Hogsback Lake in British Columbia, Canada, for a birthday party filled with music, laughter, and good times. But as the party started to wind down, something strange happened. Madison vanished without a trace, leaving behind all of her belongings and a group of baffled friends. The days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, but there was no sign of Madison. The investigation led authorities down a dark and twisted path, uncovering secrets and betrayals that no one could have anticipated. And yet, despite all of their efforts, Madison's disappearance remains unsolved. Join us as we delve into the chilling and suspenseful case of Madison Scott. We'll follow the twists and turns of the investigation, uncover new evidence, and explore the theories surrounding this mysterious vanishing. Her name is Madison Geraldine Scott. She's a young woman full of life and vitality. She has a sense of adventure and enjoys capturing stunning pictures and exploring the outdoors. She participates in a variety of sports teams, including baseball and hockey, and is very active overall. She constantly has enjoyable activities planned for herself and her friends and family. She's often called Maddy. She has a huge network of friends and is a very well-rounded individual who is also nice, funny, and very extroverted. She would often be spotted dirt biking or working on her vehicle one minute, then dressing up the next. On April 29, 1991, she was born to Dawn and Eldon Scott. She was raised in the center of British Columbia, in the town of Vanderhoof. It is a tiny village that is surrounded by thick forest. As of 2011, Vanderhoof had a population of around 4,000 people, while the neighboring regions had a population of about 10,000. Maddy's father was teaching her how to be a mechanic at the time when she was working at MGM logging alongside him. She had just graduated from high school, where her last year saw her win the Best Visual Arts Team award. She weighs around 165 pounds and is 5 feet 4 inches tall. She has emerald-colored eyes and naturally red hair. Her left wrist is tattooed with a bird silhouette, and she has pierced ears and a left nostril. Late in May 2011, some 25 kilometers southeast of Maddy's hometown, a friend of hers was celebrating their birthday at Hogsback Lake. Maddy accepted when her friend Geordie, whom she hadn't seen since school, asked if she wanted to go with her. They intended to spend the night camped out there so they could have some beverages. The party's location and the weekend after Victoria Day were both mentioned in the invitation, which was made public on Facebook. As this would be Maddy's first time camping with her friend Geordie, or even just hanging out with her outside of school, she was quite eager. They left for Hogsback on May 27th, loading up Maddy's 1990 Ford F-150 with her tent, her beer cooler, and their overnight bags. As soon as they arrived, they discovered they had forgotten their tent poles. They took the 25-minute journey back to Maddy's home, said farewell to Dawn, and then returned to the campground with the poles. At the park's entrance, next to the picnic table and campfire with a good view of the lake, Madison and Geordie set their tent. Due to the invitation being made public, around 45 individuals showed up, some of whom were not acquainted with the intended guests. From that point, everything started to spiral out of control. Geordie made the decision to leave the party and go to bed after accidentally falling into a fire after a quarrel between two individuals. She said that despite her requests, Maddy refused to accompany her. By 1 in the morning, Geordie departed the party, leaving Maddy to mingle with the remaining 4 to 5 guests by herself. Maddy was last seen between 2:45 and 3 in the morning. At about 10 the next morning, Geordie went back to the party area to assist Maddy with packing up her belongings. Maddy wasn't there, however. Her camping space was a mess, and her rings, which she never removed, were lying about outdoors. She'd left her vehicle at the campground as well. Later that day, Geordie made his way home. There was a large party that night with roughly 150 attendees. No one claimed to have seen Maddy there. Another party was hosted at the Hogsback Lake campsite later that evening. This time around 150 individuals attended. The majority of attendees at the second party were likewise familiar with Madison, but they don't remember ever seeing her there. She was ignoring everyone's calls and texts, and eventually her phone died and her tent collapsed as a result. On the second night, a few people decided to camp there, but they were only able to see her tent and car. Madison's mother, Dawn, began phoning her friends to check if they had heard from her after Madison didn't come home or respond to either of her parents. When she spoke with Geordie's parents and Geordie, she learned that Geordie hadn't seen Maddy since early Saturday morning. Eldon and Dawn started hunting for Maddy at Hogsback Lake after Dawn phoned him right away. As they got there, they saw Maddy's vehicle and tent in the area beside the entrance. Between her vehicle and her tent, they discovered everything she had, including a hardly used beer cooler. Nevertheless, Madison was nowhere to be found. After that, Dawn made a missing person call to the police.
RCMP?
Hi, I'm calling. My daughter's 20. We're at Hogsback, and I haven't heard from her since Friday night. And we just came out, and our pickup is here in the vehicle, and people haven't seen her at all.
Okay, what's her name?
Madison Scott.
And what's her date of birth?
April 29th, 91.
So she was last heard from on Friday?
Friday night, yes.
Okay.
All of her stuff's here, but yeah, I don't know.
Where does she live? With you?
Yes, with us in Vanderhoof.
Does she have a vehicle with her?
The vehicle is here, yes. We are out at Hogsback. I talked to her Friday night, and then we just haven't heard from her yesterday, and her cell phone has been dead.
The truck has been there all the time?
The truck, yes, it has been. We're at the truck and the tent right now.
And no answer on her cell?
No answer. It's been dead, it seems, since yesterday.
How tall is she?
Madison, she would be 5'4".
What's her weight?
170-ish.
Her hair?
Ginger-colored.
Eyes?
Green eyes.
A canine squad and a diving team from the police showed up there. Also, more than 150 locals offered their assistance in the hunt for Madison. The lake next to where Madison camped, the park pathways, and the rocky ground that the thick forest rests on were all checked, but absolutely no signs of Madison were found. Moreover, there were no indications of a scuffle near her vehicle or tent. The Gothic-style lanyard Madison used to carry her vehicle and other keys, as well as her iPhone 4 with a teal cover, were never found. At about 12:30 on Sunday afternoon, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, arrived at the lake and started their investigation. Several times, dozens of local volunteers as well as helicopters, dogs, boats, and hundreds of people combed the campsite and lake. Also, many cottages and a nearby lake were checked. A reenactment video was also made and published that year. On May 31st, the official search was put on hold, but volunteers continued their efforts. After exhaustively searching for a location, they marked it with a wooden post and displayed Maddy's missing people posters all throughout the province. Authorities investigated a few more individuals, including everyone who had attended the party on Friday night. Police questioned Geordie and seemed to be wary of her. She was finally exonerated of all suspicion, however. Authorities also investigated Fribjon Bjornsson, a guy who claimed to have knowledge of what happened. Fribjon was referred to as Maddy's friend, but it was rumored they could have been closer than that. There have been rumors that Maddy was murdered to scare or punish Fribjon for a drug transaction gone wrong because of his history of drug misuse. After being excluded as a suspect, he was later discovered dead a few weeks after Maddy vanished. It is thought that the two occurrences are unconnected. As suspicious as it may be, family and friends of Maddy have never given up seeking for her or spreading the word about the case. To promote awareness and do searches, they developed a website with a ton of data, blog posts and pictures. They also staged an annual poker ride for years. Due to COVID, the ride in 2020 was postponed. Nonetheless, a virtual ride was held in 2021. Attendees of the virtual ride were still urged to go to the location of Maddy's last sighting, search for leads, and use social media to raise awareness. One of the famous theories related to this case is the Highway 16, commonly known as the Highway of Tears. In the Canadian province of British Columbia, there have been a staggering number of inexplicable disappearances, often involving women or children, along an 837-mile length of roadway. Canada's Highway 16 is one of the most breathtakingly stunning routes on Earth. British Columbia's Lonesome Highway runs east-west through snow-capped mountains, thriving mill towns, and a desolate wilderness that seems to have vanished into the mists of time. Nobody is really certain of what or who is to blame for the missing and deceased. In certain instances, Canadian Mountie police suspect it to be the work of a serial murderer. Yet more than 3 decades have passed with zero success. To find out why so many women, ranging in age from infants to adults, have either been slain or have never been recovered, a special task force has even been established, and a Canadian government investigation has been launched. Most people tend to believe Maddy's case was related since she vanished around 10 miles from the freeway. As we wrap up our exploration into the strange vanishing of Madison Scott, one thing is certainly clear. The search for answers is far from over. Despite years of investigation, her disappearance remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of our time. But we hope that our journey has shed some light onto the case and brought awareness to the search for answers. Perhaps someone out there holds a crucial piece of information that could finally bring closure to Madison's loved ones and provide answers to the many questions that still linger. We encourage anyone with the information to come forward and help bring justice for Madison Scott. And for those of you who have followed along with us, we thank you for joining us on this journey and hope that it has sparked a deeper interest in the pursuit of truth and justice for all who have gone missing under mysterious circumstances.